Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to Your Voice, a weekly program supported by journalists for human rights through SSBC. In this episode, we will be discussing about the plight of internally displaced persons who are sheltered at Mangatane residential area in Juba. Most of the IDPs in the area are people who came from protection of civilian sites which are managed by United Nations Mission in South Sudan and came as a result of the conflict in the country. Other members of the camp dwellers are drawn from people displaced from conflict across the country and around the national capital, Juba, as well as those who are facing extreme poverty who joined the camp to benefit from free food and non-food items distributed at the center. Let us take a look at this report by Taban Juma to see and analyze the situation of those people living in Mangatane IDP.
At Mangatane IDP's camp, nearly 10 families are forced to stay at one communal shelter for lack of tents to accommodate 10,000 IDPs, and the few tents available are not even conducive for human beings to live in. Mary Nyawood, one of the residents of Mangatane IDP's camp, stressed that they are suffering during the rainy season because her children and she stay awake until the late hours in the night as the rainwater in room drops.
When it is raining, we are standing until all water go out through the room. Then I go to the bed with my kids. As you can see, the water is everywhere in this room. There is not enough tents. We just staying like that.
We need some help.
Stephen McCall, the community leader at Mangatane IDP's camp, said they had raised the issue of shelter to the concerned authorities, but they are not yet to respond.
The space is not enough for us. We use area like communal shelters. Maybe 10 families will be in one house, and even the place is not enough for us. But due to our status as vulnerable people, we cope the situation, and even we are living as it is. If you move around, you can see people, 10 families in one communal shelters. That big shelters that has been put, and those people, they should have to stay together. But the place is not enough for us. Even there is no way. Then we force ourselves to be in that situation.
Hundreds of thousands of people fled to UN protection sites across South Sudan to preserve their lives after the eruption of the conflict in December 2013 and the renewed violent conflict in July 2016, sending families to unfavorable camp conditions. According to Article 34 of South Sudan Transitional Constitution 2011, quote, every citizen has the right to have access to decent housing. The state shall formulate policies and take reasonable legislative measures within its available resources to achieve the progressive realization of these rights. And also Articles 5.1.1 and 5.1.4 of the Revitalize Agreement stated that within 3 months of establishment of Artigono has to initiate legislation to establish the Compensation and Reparation Authority and stipulate their mandates and jurisdictions to cater for compensation and reparation of the affected people. Taban Juma, Your Voice, SSBC.
And that was the report compiled by Taban Juma. And as you can see, it's a report that was done at Mangatane IDP camp. And joining me in the studio in this program of Your Voice to discuss on this issue is Gadwich Peter Kulang, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Tex.
Yes, as you saw in that report, the situation of those IDPs are indeed dire. And these are people who are on transition, if I may say, because they were initially in protection of civilian sites within the UNIMIS, and some of them came out to IDPs closer to their residential areas. And I believe there are plans to also integrate them back to communities and move back to their original homes. So far, what is your ministry, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, where you are the Undersecretary, doing to resolve this issue facing these IDPs, considering the situation they are in right now?
Well, as a one again, thank you to the SSBC for inviting me. I'm honored to be here on behalf of my minister, the leadership of Humanitarian Affairs, and the Relief and Rehabilitation Commission. Indeed, I've been aware of the situation of Mangatene. One thing I would like to brief you a bit. Within Juba and around, we have many IDPs locations. Among them, within Mangatene, we have 3 IDPs, Mangatene 1, Mangatene 2, Mangatene 3, where you have taken this footage or you have visited. We also have Juba 2 on the other side, on the river east bank. We have Mahad, we have Kor William, we have Jabal, we have Jabal Denka, and others. These are the internal IDPs from different locations, and due to the previous crisis that we have been in, they found themselves in that condition. If I come back into Mangatene situation, it was established as an emergency. Most of our partners came in, and together with the government, the Relief and Rehabilitation also supported in-kind support, like foods, mixed foods, been distributing to them regularly. And our partners also from UN agencies, they have been given them, because it was a temporary. Most of our problem in the very beginning, up to now, it is an issue of land. The state government of Jubek by then, which is now Central Equatoria, give a land for those who may be living here, because most of them supposed to be relocated in Unity State. We could not manage to get a land because it has been 2 years from now. Our plan is to relocate them, put them in a place where can be surveyed in a way that people can live in a dignified manner. Unfortunately, up to now, we are still in that plan. The World Food Programs that committed themselves to give them a monthly ratio. For example, per family, they are given what they call cash transfers, grants. They are receiving every month. This cash transfer is like a money.
But let me interrupt you briefly. Sorry for that. But I need to understand. You mentioned that there is an arrangement of relocating these people. Was there a time frame that was put in place by the government or us of how long these people are supposed to be in this designated area? And also, when you talk about relocating, are they being relocated to their original homes to settle by themselves, or they still need to be followed up wherever they are going to be relocated?
Well, we give them an option, because we don't want to do the forced relocation. Majority of these communities want to stay in Juba, and we failed to get a land where they should go. At the moment we are in engagement, the current plan that we are in engagement, so that those who have places in the Aden area, they should identify it. The committee that was formed by the president in 2017 is still active, still working, trying to identify where they used to live before within Juba. And after we identified the locations, we will move them. Our partners are ready to provide shelters, to provide wash, to provide water and health as well, together with the RRC, which is our operational wing. Our main duty is to make sure that the government and the agencies that work in that particular area, for example, now it has been 2 years, so it has been a great challenge. We always renew the agreements with particular NGOs who've been supporting with health, who've been supporting with the wash. At the moment, we're stuck because we don't have shelters. As the government, we are working as we presented our proposal to our government wing so that we can buy the shelter, because now the rain season is going to affect many communities, not only the Mangatene.
Let's also understand the different types of the internally displaced persons here. We have these areas you mentioned, Mangatene 1, 2, and 3, Juba, Mahat, Jebel, Jebel Dinka, and others. And then there are also those who are still within the protection of civilian sites at the UNIMIS and UN agencies controlled areas. What are the difference between these two types of internally displaced persons? Others are outside, within Juba and its surrounding, Juba suburb, and others are within still UN confined areas. What are the difference between these two groups?
Yes, they are very huge different. Those who live in POCs, they are receiving free services. But those who are outside, for example, like Mangatene, Mahadid, mainly supported by the government, they depend on health, the government health primary. So they live like any citizens. You look for a job, you work for your families. But those who are in POCs, they depend on UN, which the institution concerned, including Relief and Rehabilitation Commission and the ministry, working very hard on the return packages, both sides, the government and the UN agencies. Because the idea of bringing cash transfer is to motivate those who may be willing to return to their original place. You go to the rural area, the same services of cash transfers will follow you.
And also, as of the previous agreement, ARCES, and now the revitalized agreement, there is always a provision of reparation and compensation, which is part of resettling these communities back to their original homes. And if you mentioned that 2 years have passed, some of them have been there for 2 years, and now you are talking about renewing their time within these camps. What message do you think it will send to those who are still within the POCs, within the UN centers, to come out and join the rest of the country if the process is still dragging and taking long?
And by the way, we have so many differences at the moment. Especially the difference that I'm talking, the previous one, the opposition group did not join the government. Now we have all of them, most of them, they are here with the government. There is a feeling of being, our leaders are united. Is another thing that motivates them. Even today, about 7 chiefs within the POC, Juba here, they came to the ministry that get us a land. We will come out. Because they feel all the opposition, they are with us here. That will be the difference. But from the previous one, they doubt. They were thinking that the opposition will join the government. So as we speak now, they feel there is a peace in the house than before.
You mentioned that there are also other partners who are supporting these camps in other facilities. But apart from health services that the government is providing to these IDPs, what other services is the government providing to these internally displaced persons in these camps?
Mainly, we support with the food assistance. It is not regularly. It depends on the donation we receive either from the government or from our partners. It is basically on the 3 months. It depends on the 3 months, 2 months, because we have so many locations. So, for example, Mangatene was given ratio, I think 3 weeks to 4 weeks ago. They have received the same to Madi, the same to Juba 2, the same to Jabal Denka, and again now we are giving Jabal Denka another ratio. This week we already dispatched it, and this food is not alone for Juba. As I mentioned it earlier, we have also people in Yei, in Lanya, and in Taurit. We have people in Bentiu itself. We have people in Greater Maiwut. We have also IDP in Wau. We, through RRC, we deliver food through state government so that they can reach to the vulnerable people who are living with them.
Good. And since we are approaching as rainy season, rain comes with a lot of sanitation issues and hygiene, and also a lot of diseases sometimes, especially for these people who are vulnerable. We are going to be talking about sanitation and hygiene shortly, but in the meantime, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we will delve further into that. We are going for a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Your Voice, a weekly program that is brought to you by JHR together with SSBC, and I am your host, Stephen. And as I said earlier, we are joined by Gedwich Peter Kulang, the Under-Secretary of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And we were looking at the issues of IDPs at Mangatene earlier, and also at the same IDP camps in Mangatene, our reporters conducted a survey to find out the issues of hygiene and sanitation, especially in areas of latrines, the number in the camp and household level, and how evenly the toilets are distributed in the camp and how people access those facilities. As Cliff Ochaya reports, lack of washrooms has resulted to open defecation and poor hygiene, which greatly contributes to widespread of diseases in the camp. Many dwellers of Mangatene camp complains of lack of proper sanitation in the area and call on government, UN agencies, NGOs, and concerned stakeholders, including well-wishers, to support them in resolving this issue. Now let's take a look at a small report that our reporters have compiled, and when we come back, we will continue discussing about it. Let's take a look at this report.
Mangatene IDP settlement latrines are full with feces due to lack of sewage services. According to Marco Makwach, a resident at Mangatene IDP's camp, the mobile latrines were removed from the settlement last year, 2019. Just now, children and the elderly defecate in an open space nearby every night.
We don't have place for defecation. That's why we see this latrine, they are full. People use defecating outside like other field, then just go to community because this area is very dirty. Just only 2 weeks get full. No car for moving those things.
Some women and girls like Natwacha Tap will normally seek permission from their host community to use their latrines. Often they are embarrassed and turn out to playgrounds to help themselves.
All the latrines are full. They are even not enough. We always go to our neighbors' latrines. Sometimes they just tell us that their latrines are also full. In the circumstance, we bear the difficulty until after dark, when we can help ourselves around football grounds in the vicinity. Okay.
Unfortunately, after Nile Sustainable Development Organization ran out of funds, Mangatene IDP's latrines are without sewage services. People at Mangatene IDPs are asking the government and concerned organizations to look into their questions.
In toilets, there was one organization last year that is taking care of toilet facilities. That is called NSDO. That is Non-Sustainable Development. Last year he full out, he left. Now toilets are very full. A message to the government is the government will see us, not to leave us as IDP, because it's not our choice, it is a crisis. Government should talk to the organization concerned.
According to South Sudan Constitution 2011, Article 41, the environment, subsection 1 stipulates that every person or community shall have the right to clean and healthy environment. For a person with disability to get a space for defecation, some older women had to work voluntarily to remove feces from the latrine. Cliff John Ochaya, Your Voice, SSBC.
Welcome back from that report. And Honorable Under Secretary, as you have seen the report there on sanitation and hygiene, I know some of these topics might be out of your ministry's jurisdiction, but as the ministry concerned with humanitarian affairs, and this being a humanitarian situation indeed, what do you make of the situation of these IDPs, especially in areas of sanitation and hygiene, as you have seen in this report?
Thank you. Once again, Mr. Tex, as you may be aware, our role as a ministry mainly focuses on the policies, on the humanitarian affairs. But we understand that the situation at the moment is not good. We know most of the contracts or agreements they have ended. We are aware of that, but recently the ministry and the humanitarian partners, together with the Relief and Rehabilitation Commission, came up together to renew some of the programs within the IDP location, not only the Mangatene's side, because our role is to prioritize all the location, not one particular. Late March 2020 this year, our new minister, Honorable Peter Mayan Majongdit, made a ministerial orders of his 100 days plan, action plan. This 100 days action plan, the goal is to design and implement an action plan to address the most pressing humanitarian need and reduce risks, disaster risk, within 100 days and beyond. This document, we are going to launch it this Friday, and he's going to address most of these issues, to renew some of the programs that has been dropped off, because we are entering into new difficult times of movement, because the flooding that will come from now to September, as we did the press a few days ago, requesting our people who are living on the riverside should move to the other side. This will help us, or the most vulnerable persons exposed to humanitarian crisis and disaster risk, receive accelerated services or assistance to them. It is a renewal from the new leaderships, jointly together with the Relief and Rehabilitation Commission, or RRC, so that we revise to some of the programs that was started to help, like Mangatene and other places. I would also mention it here. When we started Mangatene, it was an emergency situation. And the idea after situation, emergency always is 3 months. What remain now is the recovery programs. They are shifting. They are no longer returnees. They are no longer IDPs. They've been there. Some of them, they are working. So now we are working on the recovering programs. That's why we mentioned of cash transfer. If you are receiving some money per month, so you can also turn to make your place also, for example, toilets. You cannot wait for UN to come and also remove it, clean your place. You have to do it by yourself. Our people should also learn how to do things by themselves, simple things. At the moment, our priorities, we don't want any person to live without anything on his stomach, health. There are some few things that also we need to encourage them to do them. As I am here, the Ministry and the Relief and Rehabilitation Commission put the plans on national plan on return, relocation, and a reintegration of displaced person. Due to COVID-19, we decided to hold it until we have seen a space, so that because the program is there.
And your ministry, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, together with RRC, which are in charge of responding to crisis, we have seen a number of calamities dating back from early last year to up to now. If I may mention a few, the issue of armyworm that was there last year, and also the floods that is also expected now to happen in part of the country, the drought that was there, and then the COVID-19. All these combined is really going to frustrate a country like South Sudan. Apart from the IDPs or the people in POCs and the returnees, the South Sudanese, who are the common citizens, who are facing these calamities, what is your ministry's general plan to ensure that some of these calamities, however difficult they are, they can manage to pull through?
Yes, the plan was, I mentioned it earlier, the two institutions, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, together with the Ministry of Water, Resources and Irrigation, they did a press statement. This is morally for the publics and the ordinary citizen, that we have crisis ahead of us. We should do, all of us should do an extraordinary. Those who are on the shore, if they want to be relocated, the ministry and other institutions, not only us, the Ministry of Interior also is a part of this. We are very many. We are about 17 different institutions which will work jointly to elevate the suffering of individual citizens in this country when it appears that particular location need a great help. As we speak now, Bor town is flooding, and we are putting our little resources together and try to help as an emergency from the ministry, and we already report this to a higher authority. They are all aware, and I believe the plan is already put in place, waiting for the response from the higher authority.
And as we edge closer to the end of our program, what would be your takeaway points to our viewers who are tuning into this program as we come to conclude?
My point would be, Mr. Tech, that our people need to continue to take the same courage that they have come along from where we came from long time ago, before independence. Our journey has been so difficult. All of us born in war, and we know that there will be one time all this problem will go away. The most important thing that individual can take is to wait and be patient. Whatever you get today, you need to use it in a way that your child will be safe for the next day.
Well, Peter Garwich, Gulang, the Secretary of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, we thank you very much for giving us your time and answering some of our few questions. Thank you very much. And for our viewers, this brings us to the end of Your Voice program. Until we meet next week, in the meantime, we leave you with the vox pops of the streets on the take of the program topic that we had today. Goodbye.
طبعا ما عندنا زمان كان في محلات الفاضي أو كان نادي فوق لكن المحلات هسه بيجي ما يعني الناس بيتصرف تصرفات اللي الناس يمكن بيطلع كلامنا نحن برضه كان دايرين من مثلا برضه كيف من برضه ويجيب لنا الصواريخ.
طبعا الحاجة المهم بقدر بعمله أمشي في الشوارع. لما يكون في شوارع ضربات بيوصلوا هناك. يلا في محلات بتاع الفطور وكده محلات ده يعني يردموا. يلا باقي الحاجات ده مع بخانات والناس اللي قاعدين في كام ما عندهم حمامات يكتروا حمامات بتاعهم ويخسروا يكونوا مضاف.
And secondly, when you look at the water channel, you see water is flowing anywhere and the places are so dirty. And if you try to make it the channel, you know this water, it's not really the best. Because when you go to places, you find that there is a washroom inside, but the water is flowing by the roadside. Okay? Then if you can put it inside, that would be the best way. Okay? So that the smells by the roadside, they all disappear and say really important.
في شارع سيادة خوش تنا تكنيسة بس روح زره إذا بيلقوا هناك محل كله مليان كله إذا كان كلم بيجا ديرو بيجي ذاته سو بلا كان ده مشاكل تو كتير زي ده له صلوات شديد حاجة ده تعينه كان كمان مثلا كان زي كتير زول تصح ده إذا كده أنا ورا تشغل ده إذا كان جاي أنا ورا تشغل ده كده على الأقل يعني كده تساعد الناس إذا بواعي مواطنين وإنت ذاته كده يكون مثلا انت زي حتى كنت وزير انا متذكر في زمن ثاني كان في وزير ثاني كنت في يي زول هو عارف ده من بدري وكان انت زرع هو بيسلم انت هو مستعد بينزل لا تتحد يعني انت كده ننزل نفسك وقتك تتعاون مع مواطنين